Time for a resume review for Mujtaba. So far, there is a lot that I'm seeing here that I like. I'll go through the things that I like and then go through some of the things that can be improved. So, first part that's really good is the header section. Name at the top, types of roles that you're looking for. This is very clear to anyone, especially as you're applying for different roles, the types of positions that you're looking to apply to. Personal information where needed, also included. I like the fact that in your professional summary, you are showing metrics. This is probably the first resume, the first or second resume that I've looked at where someone is actually including metrics inside of their professional summary or objective section. And this is good. So you mentioned the years of experience you have. You're mentioning some key metrics here, achieving 44% cancellation rate and generating 3.5 to 4.5K per month in ARR through consultative engagements at Adobe. Very impressive. That's exactly what I want to see. I like the fact that you have different skills and competencies and that they are mentioned in the different projects. I do have feedback on this, but I'll get back to that soon. The formatting issue is my fault because I converted this from docx to PDF, so it tends to double up on the bullet points. So that isn't a concern whatsoever. I'm mainly looking for consistency here. The other thing that I like here is how it's clear to see what the job role was that you've done and what the company where you worked at and the location is, and also the type of role as well, whether it was an on-site role, a hybrid role, or a remote role. This is good to see. Very rare to find someone that actually includes that and shows that, hey, there's this differentiation, because sometimes it can be difficult to tell. Is this the role or is this the company and whatnot? Especially if it's all the same color and all the same font. So this is a good step in the right direction. And then key projects as well. That's very interesting that you have a key project section. I'm quite impressed with that. And having a career break, mentioning the career break. So the good thing about having career breaks in your resume and mentioning some level of clarity here is to, at the very least, let the hiring manager and or recruiter know that, yes, I acknowledge that there is a gap. And if you were considering not selecting me for this position to move forward into screening or into the first interview stage, you can take a look at take a look at this and see here are the reasons why I had this career break and what I learned during that time, which is what I like. So the fact that you mentioned what you did is a positive. The only thing I would remove is this. You don't need to have that. The fact that you have applied is a sign that you are committed to returning to a professional role with renewed focus. Also, sometimes you don't even need to mention the why. Like, you don't need to tell the employer why you decided to take a career break. I've had career breaks in the past, and there is no negative reason for it. Like the reason for it is your personal decision, and it's nobody else's business, so to speak. But mentioning what you did during that time, that's what separates you and becomes a differentiator from someone else who has a job, who has a resume that's similar to yours, but where they don't mention the career break. So if an employer is trying to choose between you and somebody else, someone explains what their career break was, especially if it was an extensive career break of more than 1 year, more than 2 years, versus someone else who doesn't explain it at all, and they could only put forward a certain number of candidates to the next round. They're going to put you forward because you have got something on your resume that gives you the edge over somebody else. It's just that simple. You then mention your education section, great. You mentioned the year as well, and then other tools. Right, so that's all the positive stuff. Now let me go into some of the areas where I think there can be some significant improvement to be made. I think that the professional summary section is a little bit long. I think with it stretching it into 6 lines, it is a little bit excessive. So potentially consider reducing this. I like the fact that you did say seeking roles in business analysis, project management, or customer experience. I think that's great, but it's also kind of mentioned here too. That being said, I wonder if there's a way where you can combine this sentence with the first sentence. So that's my recommendation. And then as for this stuff, maybe it doesn't need to be mentioned here directly because you're going to have that in your core competencies anyway. So we want to make sure that we're not doubling up. And I know that I don't think you are. So for example, we have sprint planning here, but you probably don't have sprint planning mentioned here. Just checking. But yeah, but I would actually remove all of this and include that in one of the sections that you're going to put here. In this area, I would move this section to below your professional experience and or below your key projects. Either above key projects or below key projects, but definitely behind professional experience. Companies care more about what you've done at a company rather than just you listing off and reading off a list of skills that you have. You know, skills and keywords is there, but ultimately you need to be able to prove that you have them, and the experience section is what should prove that you have them. The alternative way of doing this is merging your core competencies and skills keyword section with your professional experience. So at the end of your role here at Concentrics, you could mention, you could list off some of those skills and list it as a section, as like a horizontal list of bullets underneath the main set of bullet points. The other thing you could do is, that I recommend you do, is to reduce the number of bullets that you do mention per role. And whilst your resume is only 2 pages, and it is good that it is only 2 pages, I still think you could save more time for the hiring decision maker by reducing the number of bullets and make it to a maximum of 3 or 4. I like the fact that most of your bullets have got some form of number on it. This has been a feedback point that I've been giving to a lot of people where we've done this resume reviews for, where there isn't any numbers on any of their bullets. You have them in a lot of fields, which is great. The only recommendation I would make is that you shift your numbers closer to the start of the explanation as part of the storytelling. So using the impact exclamation point then first. I mean, you know, when I was in school, we always talked about PEE as point evidence explanation, but for resume building, I would say put evidence first. So evidence goes first, then you can explain it from the context of why you decided to how you managed to accomplish that objective, and the impact that it had in an organization. So start with impact, start with evidence, start with then afterwards explain how you did it, and any other outcomes that led to that led from that as well. Just to make sure that there is some formatting clarity and consistency, I would recommend that you move your dates to the right side of your experience section, and then put the on-site / hybrid next to the company or next to your role in brackets, which would just make it a little bit clearer. And then if there are any that seems like you're just giving a language that speaks to your day-to-day responsibilities, then get rid of that. So you need to be able to find a way of reducing this down to about 3 bullets. And especially the way that I see it is, depending on the nature of your role, it's like for every year that you've been at a company, there really shouldn't be more than like 2 bullets max. Typically, I would say one bullet per 2 years, depending on the length of your resume. Or if you've only been at a company for 1 year, then between 1 and 3 max. But they should all be metrics focused as much as possible, which also needs to be contextualized. Everything else looks good to me though. Tools and technologies, so project management, Jira, Confluence, etc. Microsoft Office Suite. Everyone mentions these. I have a love-hate relationship with mentioning Microsoft Office Suite. I don't know why we're told to mention these all the time. You don't have to. It's not going to aid you in any way. Try to add stuff that you think the employer actually cares about. So if the employer cares about having someone that has experience working in remote environments, then yeah, sure, you should have things like Slack and Zoom mentioned. But for Microsoft Office Suite, that's basically you're saying that you know how to use a computer, which, you know, most people do. CRM systems, I think you should be specific and mention the actual CRMs that you use and that you have familiarity with. For example, if you are someone who is applying to a company that uses Salesforce, but you've only used HubSpot, and you're a salesperson, and there isn't any internal training for how to use Salesforce, then that would probably not be an ideal fit, even though there is a direct integration between HubSpot and Salesforce. But I'm just making the point that you should be specific as to mentioning the exact tools that you actually use every day, which you have done everywhere else. It's just these CRM systems I think you should change and make it hyper-specific. But other than that, I think that's a pretty good start. Let me just check to see if there's anything else that comes to mind for me as I'm reading my reports. That's on another tab here. Yeah, I would probably say bolding the metrics is the one other thing that I mentioned on the report, is to bold the metrics, because it will be the first thing that people see. And the only other thing that I'm wondering is whether it's worth having 3 roles and instead just focus on 1 role instead, and or having 3 resumes, one for business analyst, one for associate product manager, one for word specialist, just to give you that fighting chance with those particular roles. And then to also check your key project section. Let's see. Yeah, it is great, but again, it speaks to what you've done. We would need to see, I would want to see the impact of that. And also, when did these take place? What year did you do these? This is also really interesting. The fact that you've done this is great. So based on this work, you should actually know what goes into a great resume. And I guess it's no surprise because your resume is one of the stronger ones out of the batch that we've been reviewing over the last few weeks. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope that this helped. Make those changes, then this will make you one of the top candidates for the types of roles that you're going for. Because you've got the metrics, you've got the baseline and the foundations for everything that you need. You just need to tidy up a bit and make sure that you're not putting in content for the sake of content. Every line needs to speak to the story that you're trying to tell. You don't want any fluff in there. It's not about word count. It's about effectiveness and impact. Hope this helps. Speak soon. Take care. Bye.